comes over to talk in my place, just give them the mic.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Guys Night Podcast. We are live at Old School Iron in Cleveland at the posing clinic put on by Center Stage Aesthetics. And with me right now is Dejan, part owner of the company. Welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you for having me again.
Thanks for having us, man. We're excited about this. I know there's a lot of people that want information about this kind of thing that might not be able to attend live. But this is something you guys have been doing for a while, right?
Yes, we started about, I want to say 2 years ago, full blown. So Mike, which he'll be on a little bit later, he's the main owner of the company. He's been doing posing for a very, very long time, and he's been helping his team pose, and he's allowed a lot of athletes always jump in his sessions, and he's always just loved teaching people how to present themselves in the best way possible, because no matter how good you look, if you don't showcase it in those 20, 30, 40 seconds you get on stage, they're never going to know, and they're going to give it to the guy next to you. And it's a shame to work for 12, 16, 20 weeks total for grinding your body fat percentage down and you don't present it right, and then someone who hasn't worked out as hard as you wins over you, and that's just devastating, probably in the least of anything. So he's been doing this for a very long time. When I actually linked up to him, he's the one that taught me how to pose back when I first got into bodybuilding. And then I was like, Mike, you're so incredible at this. Why don't you advertise this more? And that's kind of how the idea of integrating together and making what Center Stage Aesthetics is, to make coaches feel more comfortable about coming together and teaching their clients how to properly present so the coach's work shows better. A lot of coaches don't have the time to only do the posing with you. They do your diet, your workouts, they still have families. This is a whole aspect that adds to that layer, and it really just takes up a lot of time. So we really put it in together to work with all coaches and bring them aboard to make sure we don't skip that step for all the athletes and everyone presents properly.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. So you guys working with this coalition of coaches, essentially, getting guys from all over, women from all over that work together. And I'm assuming that helps them be better coaches regardless if they're coaching a woman or if they're coaching a man, right? Because you guys do both today.
100%, yes.
Let's talk about posing in general. What percentage of that is really, when it comes down to your scoring and things like that when you're competing, how important is posing versus just looking your best?
I would probably get it almost 30 to 50%. Unless you're crazy conditioned with absolutely insane muscle bellies, you'll be able to step on the stage and the judges will be like, that guy wins.
Gotcha.
But unless you're within that degree of ahead of somebody in the show, that posing is really going to come down to showing the differences in everyone's physique. And when you're at a more, let's say, local show, that might make the difference, where you can just see someone that's crazy like that. But once you get to a national level show, everybody looks good. Every person that's stepping on that stage, they've placed top 2 at a show, they've qualified for nationals, they've come in and they've done their thing. And because of that, you are going to have to separate yourself and make sure you're showcasing every bit and not losing out on a pose.
Yeah, absolutely, I can imagine. And obviously learning to pose isn't easy either. Like I've heard like some stories of like it's a workout in its own.
Yeah, you'll see shortly here once we do a live broadcast of everyone posing, especially this being probably the first clinic of our year. Some people might have taken the holidays off, eaten some extra food. You will see people drenched in sweat.
That's great.
Because you have to think, when you're working out, you do a bicep curl, you're contracting your bicep constantly and putting tension and blood flow in that. But you're not flexing your abs, your shoulders, your quads. In posing, you're flexing every single muscle at every time without barely breathing and keeping that the whole time.
That's intense.
So yeah, it's like a full workout.
So how long, you mentioned when you partnered with Center Stage, how long have you guys been partnered, and what's the future hold for you guys?
So me and Mike I've been a client of Mike's for about 4 years now.
Okay.
Center Stage itself has existed now for going on 3 years. So it was after our first year as him being my coach that we really integrate to joining forces and just collaborating together to make it easier for our coaching experience, and then what we started now at Center Stage. What it holds, this is going to be probably our biggest year. We have a lot of big events and big athletes coming in. Just today we have a top 10 Olympia athlete coming in, and other Olympia qualifiers that are going to come in to help people pose. And
now, are these guys that have trained with you guys previously, or are these guys just that heard about you and wanted to be part of this clinic?
So a really big thing about the clinic that I like to preach about is there's so many amazing athletes that they know what it's like to start where you've been at. They weren't always superstars, and they've worked their way up, and they just want to give back to the community, show up and help these people that are upcoming and going, that are striving and want to do better. They come here on their own free will and time and donate time to help these people out. So they don't even ask us for a nickel or a dime. They just come in and we just make sure everyone has a great experience to make a great community.
That's awesome. And hey guys, if you're tuning in, please like, share, comment, ask questions. Want to make sure that the sound is coming in okay. Looks like Troy Piazza is saying what's happening to you, giving you some love. So Troy, hopefully you're able to hear this okay and it's coming through clear. We appreciate the feedback. So talk about, how this clinic starts as far as what you guys are going to begin with and what the process is going throughout the day. Is there a lot of individual coaching? Is it almost all as a group? And
yes.
Is everybody welcome? Like, can anybody just come to this? I think that was something that you guys have shared before.
Yeah, a lot of people get intimidated because there are, again, like I said, Olympian level athletes here, but there's also people who've never stepped 1 inch of posing here. So we teach all levels from ground up all the way to advanced posing. We have enough coaches usually where we can segregate the groups to levels. The amateurs will go with the one side so we can learn the basics, the steps. And then the more advanced people will go in the actual rounds of posing and we do the groups. And towards the end, we'll collaborate everybody so you can just take what you've learned. But essentially, the way we're going to run the clinic today is you'll come in, we'll announce a couple people. We're going to do a mock trial clinic. So what that entails is we're going to have, let's say, bodybuilding go up first. We're going to call out a couple bodybuilders. We'll give you an example of what judging looks like for bodybuilding. We'll move them around, call the poses out, see what individual routines look like. And then we'll move on to figure, physique, classic, wellness, bikini, and give you just a little bit of a sample of a couple of the higher end athletes that have come to teach today and how they present their bodies so you can know what to expect of your division. Once we get that mock trial run, then we're going to start letting you know where we're segregating each division at, which you will then go to your respective division, and there will be a coach there, and we'll segregate you to help you learn in which category you'll be best at. And if you're a newer athlete, you're more than welcome to come up to me, Mike, or even any of the coaches really, and we'll kind of take a look at you and we'll give you our best opinion, what division we think you should start with to try to learn. And let's just say someone's in between, they don't know if they want to do bikini or wellness, they can go into bikini for the first half of the clinic and then go to wellness and get a little bit of both and see what they're more comfortable with. Because that's not only what you look like, you want to grow into the division you feel most comfortable with. So even if you look like you're going to be a bikini athlete, but you want to build some muscle and want to grow to figure, you should go to figure, learn what figure is going to be like, so you are setting yourself up for that success.
Right on, right on. And then, so what do you personally compete in?
I do all three. My main division is going to be classic. That's the one I am more built for, just because I'm much taller. And for me to be an open bodybuilder, I'm going to have to be 300 pounds in the off season. And that's just a lot of grind that I don't think I have the genetic structure for. But classic is a little bit more within my realm of possibilities. As the 4 kids get older, I can take it a little more serious.
Fair enough.
And then I also like to do physique just kind of more for fun, just to stay sharp on my posing, because I do help with all categories. I do help with the women categories too, but I'm not going to cross over on those in the competitions.
So you mentioned, the off season, what you would have to do if you want to do that, and obviously there's a ton of work that goes into it. Nobody really talks about the discipline. Like, we talk about the PEDs that are in this business, and obviously I know Dave Lieberman's going to be here today, which he runs one of the largest natural competitions in the area.
Yes.
But people talk about PEDs, they talk about, the different ways that bodybuilders get their strength, but they don't really talk about the fact that it's one of the most disciplined sports in America for anything.
Oh, hands down.
It's 12 months out of the year, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, you have your prep that you're doing for your show, and we'll say low end, it's 12 weeks, higher end, 16 to 20 weeks long. That you properly cut down your nutrients slowly to get that body fat down without losing as much muscle mass as possible. And yeah, it is a grind, especially. The hardest part is, like, if you have a really tragic day, your kids has the flu, you're sick, you're out and about, you have to go to a work trip, whatever the circumstances are, you have to be prepared from the beginning of the day till your face hits the pillow to make sure your meals are appropriate, you don't go over your macronutrients, that you're properly feeding your body. And even, like, let's say you could get away with eating a Snickers bar, you don't want that kind of mentality and setting yourself up for failure. You need to stay consistent throughout this whole journey to finalize yourself to what the best package possibly it can be for you.
Yeah, I guess it'd be pretty easy if you say, I'll just have a Snickers bar today, and then it's that much easier to say, I can have a Snickers bar 2 days from now because I still look good. And then before you know it, you create some of those bad habits and get
100%.
Addicted to those things that feed the addiction.
Yeah, and even like you said, it's a 12 months out of the year sport. Even though that prep is, like I said, 16 to 20 weeks, so let's say 4 months, the other 8 months, you need to feed yourself up properly to not get too fat Otherwise, then you're dieting off muscle if you don't do it properly. And you need to maintain yourself into a good position to start a prep to lose weight. And when you're doing that, you're pretty much on the diet always, just at a higher caloric amount.
Now, you mentioned you were going to have somebody kind of do a little bit of a test run for us, right?
Yes, so I have an athlete, Brian, here that we're going to be utilizing.
Brian, and what does Brian compete in?
Brian he's going to be doing classic physique and bodybuilding, and he is about 14 weeks out now, so he's just starting his diet and coming done with his bulk. So he was a good example that I could utilize for today.
And you mentioned 14 weeks of prep. What does prep like that look for? Because I hear a lot of people say, like, prep killed me or prep ruined it for me. I've heard of people say that they weren't the same after their show for months because of their prep.
Yeah, so I mean, the biggest thing with prep is when you are starting a prep, you're maximizing what your BMR, which is your metabolism, can be at, and you are slowly chipping it away. You don't just drop 1,000 calories. You'll maybe week to week drop 50 to 100, depending on the athlete, and slowly increase your cardio, not dramatically, otherwise it's, again, too big of a jump in a metabolic shock. So your calories start to slowly do this, and your cardio starts to slowly do this. Depending on the athlete, the cardio may not change much, but every little bit, as your body fat starts to drop, every 20 calories, 30 calories, you're gonna feel week to week to week. And I would really say when an athlete is really dialed in, until the 6 to 8 week mark, you're not really feeling the prep as hard. You'll be, losing your weight, and you'll feel comfortable, and you'll actually probably be your strongest ever, just because you're so optimal in the amount of nutrition you're putting in your body.
At the beginning ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then once you hit that 6, 7 week mark, your body fat has dropped just enough where you're just tanked, your energy levels are going. You're not building muscle at that point.
Well,
Nothing is going to
we talked about, too, your glycogen levels, right? So I'm assuming with less fat, you're eating more into muscle when you are getting into those workouts and things like that, too.
Yeah, at that point, it's really important to maximize your carbohydrates and or whatever macronutrients you're utilizing in your diet around your workouts so you can have glycogen to make the most of your workouts. But realistically, the hardest part is also going to be your fats are so low, your serotonin levels are dropping, your cortisol levels may be going up because you can't think. You get what's called brain fog, and a lot of things kind of just start to kick in. There are things to mitigate those effects, and experience will help you. If you're used to being at a lower body fat percentage, it may not hit you as quickly as the people who are getting to that amount the first time. But realistically, as you get better, and each show that you do and your body fat gets lower and lower, and you get more used to being at 8-9%, it'll be a little bit easier. But then it's not easier, because then this show you're going to be getting down to 5-6% body fat, and you're going to feel that difference.
I guess everybody has a different approach. Troy put in here, he thinks the prep is the favorite part because it's like getting ready for the Super Bowl. He said it's after prep that's the hard part.
After prep is difficult because when you're in prep, you have tunnel vision. You have a goal. Every day you have micro goals. I'm going to hit my macros. I'm going to hit my cardio. I got to get my workout. There's little check marks that you can finish. And it's a great feeling when you're going to bed and you're like, I hit all my calories. I've done all my cardio. I've done my workout. Let's do this again tomorrow. And then each adjustment every week, you're getting closer and closer to this big Super Bowl, essentially. But once that Super Bowl is done, yeah, it's really tough because now you have to reverse out properly. You have to put on proper muscle mass. It's not as quick of a gratification as you've seen that body fat and those abs come in and the sharpness and looks of your muscles. It's a mental battle to you not binge because your body is so hungry to replenish all that body fat that it's gone through for you to engorge. And just the rush that you get of dopamine, eating sugar that day after the show to replenish calories, it's kind of hard to pull back. And then you get what's called post-show blues, where you kind of just gonna get sad because there's no ultimate goal. You're like, all right, I'm gonna compete next year, but now you don't have those little check marks. Like, sure, you gotta get your workout in, sure, you're gonna do your cardio, sure, your calories will be eaten, but again, it's not that instant gratification that you're getting in prep.
It's probably a lot harder to stay. Like, do you have a lot of guys that first couple of months after a show really like pack on the weight or really like let themselves go just because of those? It's essentially it's a crash.
It is, and your body's going to try to replenish glycogen super fast, so it's going to retain water. You want to really be careful right after the show because your body will have no limits. Like we have a client, Bill Vissi, we talked about before. He gained 31 pounds in 48 hours.
Holy smokes.
And he felt it, you're sweating crazy, all the water's just storing. Why we don't recommend eating forever, but he's a bigger guy. He's about 300 pounds right now, so he can gain that weight, and that's a different percentage than, say, a 150-pound person.
But still.
It's still a lot
of weight.
I mean, imagine you woke up out of bed and I throw a 30-pound ruck bag on you and you had to carry on your life the next day with that vest on you. Like, even walking,
everything
bending
just
over.
feels harder.
Everything instantly, because you're not gradually putting that weight back on. It's overnight, and your joints and ligaments aren't prepared for that.
That's insane. All right, well, let's, you want to set Brian up, see if he's ready to go,
Yes.
and I'll flip one of the cameras around so they can kind of see it?
Definitely.
Awesome.
All right, guys, so we're going to go over the bodybuilding poses. First one, we start off, you're in the shot.
Hey, Dejan, talk to this white camera.
Talk to that one, yeah. So first one we're going to start off is a front relaxed pose. So go ahead, guys.
Actually, hey, real quick, why don't you guys angle towards it instead of towards us? Yeah, like that way you guys are side by side.
So this is your judge.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. That works.
We're going to take one step back. That's good.
Perfect.
All right, so front relaxed pose is about symmetry. We're showing off the symmetry of the athlete. Your chest is up towards the judge. Your waists are back because you want to make the waist look a little bit smaller. You're going for this V-taper look. This is the most important pose that we're starting you guys off at because this is the first look the judge is going to put you into. Next is going to be quarter turn. We're always going to the right. Even if you're left-handed, it's okay.
Better know you're right or left.
Biggest thing is we're not hiding the glute, so his hands are far back enough so we can still see the symmetry of this hip. Arms are downward, and you want your wrists to be about even with each other in both these poses. If you look at the camera, Rick, look at the camera, it kind of just looks awkward. You always want to look in the direction of this pose, and now look back. Once Rick looks this way, now you look more like a statue, and you're facing the direction like Rick and Brian are.
One would say majestic.
Much
Very
more
majestic looking right now.
All right, quarter turn again. I feel like I need to get long hair. Usually bodybuilders are bald. These guys aren't. Just up. Back more. All right, back pose. Same thing as the front pose, but the biggest thing is they're going to tilt backwards a tad. Whenever you're doing any bodybuilding pose, you are imagining that your physique is showcasing to where the judge is. And the judge is always going to be downward, looking upward at you. Quarter turn again. So again, same as the other quarter turn, just in reverse. Now they're facing this way, and face front.
You're sitting there, you're sitting up here?
Yes. Front double bicep. Front lat spread.
Whoever you want to sign in, no matter.
Again, we're showing off these symmetry points. The waists are back, the chests are forward. They are keeping in mind the judge is judging them from down there, not a straight ahead angle. Side chest. Side tricep. Now, we went over the front lat spread and the side tricep. If you're a classic competitor, they don't call those shots, but in bodybuilding, they will. Face the rear, back double bicep. Brittany has something right there. Back lat spread, the black thing. I'm not sure. Brittany just brought some in. Face front, ab and thigh. Favorite, most muscular. And this is going to be the final pose they usually call for bodybuilding. If you're a classic competitor, there'll be a favorite classic pose. Brian, Rick, you hold. And you can choose any pose that shows off your physique to the best ability in a favorite classic pose. That's going to be one round. They're going to take you then back, front relaxed. And they're going to make you do it again. Front double.
You were sweating, Brian.
You guys getting a workout over here.
You want to be first one in your pose so they can see you in the pose. Front lat spread. You don't want to take too long in the pose because they're not going to wait to call the next pose on you. Side chest. Face the rear, back double bicep. So this is the order that we go on in a classic physique. There are no front lat spreads, no back lat spreads, no side triceps. Sometimes a little bit of battling of the elbows might happen. Be courteous to the people because they say you fighting, they're not going to be happy with you. Face front, ab and thigh.
Now, are the judges announcing these poses, or do they have to memorize them?
The judges will be announcing which order they want. Sometimes they may skip a pose and call a different pose, but usually this is the general order they're going to go in.
Now, what judge calls the poses?
The head judge. There will be 7 judges. Hold the pose, hold the pose. Hold it. If they're judging you and asking, they're going to keep it going. Sometimes if you're doing a pose, let's say for this one for an example, and you start getting tired, what some people will sometimes do is you can bring your hands back down and reset your pose. But you don't want to let your breath go out. At any point, you have to hold your pose strong and show no weaknesses. Favorite, most muscular.
So this is where you get to show off whatever you want?
This one is this pose. And classic is a favorite classic pose you can show off.
Oh, I got you. So, okay.
There are a couple variations. Rick, do a crab pose. You can do a crab pose in this one as well. That is a version of the favorite, most muscular. And relax, guys. And at that point, once the judging is done, they will call you off the stage or move you guys around as needed, which you'll see in the mock trial that we're going to be doing.
Gotcha. So is there any showmanship that goes into this? Like, you know, it's funny, like, you know, my daughter's in cheerleading, so cheerleading competitions, they have to smile and stuff like that. So is there anything that these guys have to be doing and showing the judges while they're doing it, like to make it look easy, or?
You just want to look like you want to be there.
Yeah.
Mike has a great story, actually. He got second place because he didn't smile and he intimidated the judges. And they said if you smiled, you probably would have won that show.
That is
so
hilarious.
You definitely want to look like you want to be there, you're happy. Smiling is important. If you mean mug the judges, it just doesn't look as pleasant, that's all.
Fair enough.